you do one of these?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, is that number supposed to be on, or is there a light on?
As long as the main busy light isn't on, it should be okay.
There's no light on, though.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
Do we have a new host?
No, you're the host. I'm just sitting in your chair for a minute.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice and warm and comfortable.
Well, I'm Kaz Kwiatkowski, City Councilman, and my good friend.
I'm John Steiner, sitting in with Kaz today.
And there's a wild rumor we may have another guest later.
There might be some people roaming around in the audience today.
Yeah, we have an audience. They don't want to be seen, though.
No, they've seen but not heard. No, seen nor heard, right?
The one guy, though, he always critiques me afterwards.
Does he?
Oh, brutal.
You were nominated for an Oscar last night.
I was?
Yeah, talk show host of the year.
That's our best performance by.
Yeah, the visual effects and the best talk show performance.
I didn't even watch it, although I've seen a lot of those films.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I don't watch Academy Awards. You know why?
Why?
They never nominate the ones normally that the people like.
Yeah. Well, see, it doesn't. They don't go by box office gross.
You don't think that should count?
Absolutely. I think they should have a specific category for the top films that had the highest box offices, which were the best of those.
Well, I remember that came up one time with like E.T. one, but
yeah.
I mean, okay, some films are kind of like culty, like Star Wars, but
right.
I was glad that I saw like Spotlight. That was pretty good,
That won Best Picture of the Year.
And I saw The Big Short and all them,
I did not see that. I wanted to see the Revenant one.
That's a good one, but
that ended up winning most of the awards, and Spotlight really didn't win anything.
I'll be back in about a week.
Oh, at the theater.
Yeah, they usually bring them back. So what kind of problems we got while I was gone for a week? Anything?
I don't know, Kat. It's been pretty quiet here. John Horan passed away, as you know.
I saw that. Interesting guy.
Yeah.
Over the years, I worked with Jessica here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good things he did in the community.
Yeah. Well, the housing projects, I think they've come a long way. I listen to the Scanner at night because I usually don't have a social life on the weekends anymore. And you don't hear too much going on out at the Franklin Terrace or anything.
Well, no, because they make a contribution. They have a couple of police officers, attached there.
Oh, so they don't call the 911 hotline?
Well, I don't think they have to as much because I think they really got it under control.
Oh, they take a proactive approach to policing, and it's working.
Yeah, they kick people out. Actually, if you don't want to.
Yeah, but that's good and bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's people used to say for years, that's our money, that's our housing project, and people destroy it. You don't see that as much, you hold them accountable because it is a public dollar,
Yeah, but like what you just said, one of the bad things about some of the policies there is that if they break the law there, they get kicked out of there. So where do they go?
Well, it's the old saying that, the old joke was like during the Olympics in Beijing, they kicked out all the street vendors and all the people, the homeless.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I was in D.C. one night. It was comical. I won't say who they were kicking out because this is a family show.
Right.
But they marched a certain segment of the population over one bridge into Maryland.
Right.
Then the next night, Maryland shipped them into Virginia, and in Virginia walked them back into D.C.
Right.
This went on over like a 6-day period. I was laughing. I'm saying, you could see the police cars shuttling undesirable, undesirable self-employed people.
Right. Sales and distributions.
Taking them over the border and, dropping the other, because you got 3 states there.
Right.
It's always been a problem. Like, we had a big study here about, how do you design the Erie of the future? Well, if you're always going to have poverty and you're always going to, you hope you don't, but you always will.
Right. Well, it's just the way that inner cities have developed throughout the country and even Erie here. We built those condos by Arby's, okay? And they're nice.
Yeah, but wrong place maybe.
They're expensive, And then then one block away right here, you have the Mental Health Association. And
It's interesting you said that, because the guy that did the study, the comprehensive plan, pointed out that if you're trying to impress a certain segment of the population, and he was trying to do it without being cruel, but
right.
You can't have people coming down to spend big money or live in one area when you have another segment of the population working against them.
Right.
But that's the, how do you design a city like that,
It seems like a lot of cities have gotten into the habit of, I guess you have to do it, and it's all screwed up because the people that need it are the ones that are living in the city, where we need people with disposable income and good jobs to support businesses downtown to bring more money to the downtown. But they're not going to do that because of all the social service programs that are located, in all the Section 8 housing within the downtown areas. And that's not Erie, that's everywhere, Cass.
We go through governmental philosophies. When Erie was declining, when the mall came in and everything went out, it started with the plazas, then it went to the mall, and all of a sudden, wow, what happened? So then we put housing downtown, but we didn't put balanced housing. It was more one way. So then you had a negative interpretation of downtown. Now we're trying to change it again. So you have these various philosophies. It's like nobody really knows what they're doing sometimes.
Well, they do a different study every other month.
Yeah, but
and then nobody follows through with the study.
Now you're trying to redesign it for a different segment of population,
right?
Maybe another monetary level,
right?
And it's like that becomes tough. If you're a businessman, you're looking at, where do I want to be?
Well, you look at that's it exactly.
Ooh, we got a caller. You want to try it?
Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
Uh-oh.
They hung up. That wasn't us.
No.
Please
call back.
Yeah. What they do is they sit at a desk like this, and then, they look for the demographic studies, and
it's amazing. It was all numbers.
Yeah, and they look at Erie, and they're like, poverty level, one of the highest in the country, no disposable income. They're out.
What really got me mad was and I can't remember what TV station proved it, but I said for years, everybody goes, well, we're how do I say, we're stable, which means we neither advance nor we decline. Actually, the county now is starting to show signs of declining a little bit.
Right.
And they say that's good, and I say that's bad. And it depends how you look at it. See, I'm kind of like I want to be a half class full guy.
Right.
And they get business in here, and they admitted this, that some of the things that people want won't come because we don't have we can't look at tourists. We have to look at what do we have here for January, February, and March.
Right.
And we got 280,000 people.
Well, what it is tourism and all that. That's great. But those aren't family sustaining jobs.
No, and then when they leave, because like right now we're into what I call the 3-month business hiatus.
Right.
Okay. Reasonably, you don't see. You're at post Christmas and you're post
like January, February, and March.
Yeah. So what keeps you look at some of the restaurants, and I was talking with them, and some of the businesses, they go, well, these are lean times. This is where we gotta.
Right.
So that's when you need a big population base. Now, people are scared to let the town or the area grow up to 500,000, but it's good to have some growth.
Right.
When we were growing, we were getting new things. Now, all of a sudden, things look at us, they go, well, you're not quite big to get this, and you're not quite big to get that.
Right. Well, are we over 100,000 people still?
I think we are. The numbers say no. But right. I don't believe they've ever, I don't think they really ever count cities accurately.
Well, you could never get
I believe in my heart that there's over 100,000 people, and I still think that. But if you accept what it will tell you is that the trend is going down, though. So, that we can't debate.
Right. Well, it seems like we're getting a lot of, immigrants.
We are.
And, I see, driving around the inner city, I see they're starting to open different stores and different things like that. And I don't understand, why do they, when they put a sign up, it's in their language. And so I don't understand as a business concept.
Well, it's a different, like when my grandparents came here, they looked at it the opposite way.
They just wanted.
They wanted to be Americanized.
Right. So you figured that that the immigrants would want to be. I mean, I'm sure they can't make enough money to sustain a store just serving to their population, because you'd think that they would want to expand into the American market. Like I don't know what they sell there. I don't even know it's a store.
I'm hoping, like in the old days, I used to love it when all the various ethnic groups had, you could get different bakeries and.
Right.
You could get different food, different. Right. It was a great time.
Well, but it was English. You didn't. The Balkan Bakery wasn't. Or the Polish stores.
They were what I like to call them bilingual. They were.
Yeah.
They were there if they needed it, but
everything was written in English, and you can understand driving by the stores. Granted, it might have been an ethnic store. They might have dealt ethnic foods or products, but it was written in English, so we all understood what they were selling. I know they're tax-free for a while, but I don't understand how they stay in business when they're not.
I got to get somebody here from the International Institute, because we always get a lot of questions, and a lot of people are confused as to, just what is going on. Like benefit-wise, or
right.
There's a lot of misconception out there too.
I mean, there's a lot of immigrants moving in. I mean, I see them; they're all over the place.
It could be. It's one of those things that it was good for us back in the 30s and the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Right.
It grew eerie, actually.
Right. Well, that's Flint, Michigan. They're going through. They have the largest Muslim per capita in the country, I think. And then you look at what they did up there and how, a lot of people are saying that, it's racism against them, and how they screwed up the whole water system and changed the intake system to the river, the Flint River. Just to save some money. I don't know what kind of sense that makes when you have a larger freshwater body of water.
Sometimes government isn't the smartest entity in the book.
We'd hope they would be, but we all know.
I always laugh when they talk about saving money, but it's like, what do they always cut when you're in school, right? They cut athletics. They cut
arts.
Arts. Yeah, arts is a big cut.
Oh, yeah.
Don't need arts.
That's first on the list.
You don't cut football, but you cut the other sports, okay?
Well, you cut the sports that don't generate revenue.
Never cut football, though.
No, basketball.
Yeah, but does it generate revenue? Let me ask you a question. Does it? No. I'll tell you why. You go to the city of Erie, right? How many people go to a football game?
It depends on who's playing.
That's the most costly sport in the district, okay? They don't make money. Now, maybe in big-time college they do, but
right.
But then, they got their own budget, okay?
Right.
They got all this TV money only because we make it that way. But, look what it costs a town to build a stadium, and then they leave.
Yeah.
They go, well, wait, we want another stadium. Well, we can't afford it. Well, then we're going to leave.
People in Erie need to understand there's life in Erie, and then there's life in most of the rest of the United States, where there are jobs in places. They are doing well, but just the way things have been going here recently, we're just on the downturn. But we got some things going that are positive.
We do, but we have to. What I think the problem with this area, we're too parochial. We need to join forces, but not the way it's being envisioned. Not just cherry picking this and cherry picking that.
I don't know if you guys have talked about it. I'm sure that you've had callers, but what is your stance on the EMTA situation.
Well, here's an example of, the county talks about, I'll get in trouble and I don't care, okay? They talk about cooperation and regionalization. You read that in every paper.
Right.
Are we really talking that, though? I mean, if we're serious about regionalization, right?
Right.
I don't want to bring up the Joy Center, but there's a good one.
Right.
Okay? Let's talk about when they got the casino money, there was no talk about taking care of Erie there, was there?
No.
When you talk about letting us spend $270,000, you know how many cops I would hire?
Right.
What do you think?
At least, 3 or 4?
Not even.
No?
No, you wouldn't even put one man. Remember, you got to put 3 men. Before you can put one man on the street, you got to have 3 men hired. Because they work 8 hours a day, right?
Right.
Assuming they work normal shifts. So for every 3 guys, you got 1 guy on the street. Or women, okay?
Right.
Go ahead, caller.
You're talking about cooperation for the transportation system. Now, I heard the county executive on Jimmy LaCourte's show, or Steinhagen show Friday, say that city council was not cooperative whatsoever.
Well, you know what's funny, John? How would you like to wake up one morning and read in the paper a letter from their chairman or somebody, and that's the first time you heard of it, right?
Yeah.
Basically telling you what they're going to do. Now, they didn't come and ask us about it, didn't tell us there was any problems, just woke up in the paper one day and there's the opinion. Then they sent us a letter saying they want to meet with us, but they've already made the decision.
Right, and you're uncooperative, they said.
Yeah, and then if you read the letter, I'm going to, I don't have permission to release it, but if somebody would get a hold of it, it's an amazing letter.
Well, email it to me.
Yeah, it talks about how, they're going to let the authority run things, but only up to a certain point. And you talk about 80% of the bus riders come out of here. They're going to let us keep our 270. We are 40% of the county. No matter how they do this, baby, we are still going to pay 40% of the bill.
And we're going to pick up the slack when they don't have the riders in the county.
Yeah, they're amazing, that cooperation. Well,
she's such a farce, and I shouldn't be more or less attacking her, but I'll tell you how she has got to be a slick Willie. Every time she's on the talk show with LaCourte or Steinhagen, she is bringing somebody in disguise that represents part of her administration in the county.
Yeah.
To me, that looks like all she's doing is to divert the questions that would be going to her and bringing somebody in there that knows what they're doing to pick up the slack of her not being able to answer the questions.
Well, I think a lot of elected officials don't know the answers.
That's true.
I mean, I like to think that when I go on the show, if I get stymied, I'm going to admit that I'm stymied. I'm not going to sit there, I'll get you the answer, but you should have half an idea, what's going on. I mean, look, I'm not against regionalization, but, other towns, like, I'll give you an example. People get tired of me telling you this, but Allentown and Bethlehem got together and divided up their casino money. They had two outfits bidding on that area. We only had one. But they said, you know what, here's what we'll do. We'll take care of each other.
Just like she's screaming about making Lake Erie what is that? I'm looking for the
sanctuary. Sanctuary.
Yeah, sanctuary.
Well, we got to be careful.
She's saying, well, they'll put buoys out all over all these old shipwrecks, and you'll be able to tie up to the buoys and all that.
Well, I voted for that, but I didn't vote for the final draft, and I want to make sure that we hear from the fishing industry, we hear from the people that...
hear from everybody that's involved.
Well, yeah, they ship through there. Like, this cooperation, when they had that train thing, they never approached the city and asked us if we... I would have taken that project on. I would have loved to have seen that siding project come down in the city.
Well, that's where it should have been.
Well, yeah, but nobody asked us. I mean...
You don't want to put it out in the Harbor Creek off of Depot Road.
I mean, they took over the Civic Center, God bless them, they did a nice job. But, man, have you ever watched how there's no acknowledgement from the Civic Center that the city, for years, funded their shortfalls at the tune of 6 figures when that was a relevant figure, not compared to today, when their operating budget didn't meet their budget,
Oh, yeah, that's just like the airport. Did you read the article where there aren't going to be any more additional flights coming in because there's a pilot shortage?
Yeah, well, when I first asked the question, because I do go to those meetings, it was a hardware problem with airlines. And I can understand that because I noticed that, John, I landed in Pittsburgh real late Sunday night. And the airport, I was talking to one of the guys that worked there.
You have to drive in?
Yeah, from Pittsburgh, I drove in, right?
You're in a car?
No, I parked my car at one of those facilities.
Okay.
I like to fly out of Erie, but, they tack on another couple $100 onto the ticket. I got to think twice.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's $400 to $500 from my wife and I. But my point was, I asked the guy, I looked and I said, looks like there's nothing down that end. He goes, yeah, that's where they closed up when US Air left. And same thing in Cleveland. You go down there in Continental. So I can understand that they're putting those aircraft into the bigger cities where they make more money.
Is the Air Force Base still there?
Pardon?
The Air Force Base still down there in Pittsburgh?
Is it what?
The Air Force Base.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh.
What do you mean?
They have their planes there that they take off the one runway down there. In Pittsburgh.
I think so, yeah. My US Air is not there anymore. Of course, it's American now.
They're all gone.
Yeah, but like Southwest and those things are taking up the slack.
Well, the only reason why the Erie Airport built the extension was to be in line with the airport, the aviation, to make it longer.
Yeah, but you know what? I landed in Midway. Midway's got a shorter runway than Erie, and I was on a bigger plane.
Well,
and LaGuardia is like that too. So, there is. Yeah, we were under the gun for that, but long range, I really do think they want to bring some other aircraft in. But the airlines are going to say until they get the pilots. I did notice there's not a lot of pilots, and I think that's because they're not paying them a lot.
That's right.
And they used to
go where the money is.
You used to get a lot of the guys out of the Navy and the Air Force.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. But long range, I'd like to see the airport, get some better flights in there.
Well, as long as they're not coming in, we're not getting it. They call it Ridge International Airport because the flights used to go to Canada.
No, that's not.
The flights still going to Canada?
Yeah, but there's only 3 places you can go, John. You go to Detroit with Delta.
Or what is it, Buffalo?
No, you go to Detroit with Delta, Philadelphia with American, which was US Air.
Chicago?
Well, yeah, you go to Chicago with United, which was Continental.
You can't go to Atlanta anymore?
No, they run that they were running that during the holiday. Delta was experimenting with that and it was doing rather well.
They didn't get enough ridership, right?
Well, they don't have enough aircraft to do it all the time. The last time I was there, they were talking about Delta was going to buy a big aircraft, and they were going to try running from Erie to Atlanta, but then that project, they all of a sudden dried up. They didn't have the aircraft or the pilots. But I think in long range, they want to do it.
We're talking about projects. What about this Lord deal now?
What's that now?
Lords.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, they sold the property.
I think someone else plans on opening it back up with another business, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. But, here's the thing here. Right across the street, you've got the Port Authority with theirs. The one across the street, Lord, they went up into the park up there at Summit, losing all the tax-paying entities in the city. Everybody's leaving out, and you're getting all these non-taxables coming in and purchasing the property, just like they sold that coffee shop down on Peachtree.
Yeah.
You see what that coffee shop sold for? Back taxes, like $2,600, $2,700.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a mistake in the paper?
I wouldn't think it was.
It amazed me where the judge threw out another bid. Why? What was the reasoning behind that? The paper didn't give us any explanation of that.
No, that's what they should be doing. That's what's interesting, though, is I thought that was part of the Griffin project, but it's not.
No, someone else is purchasing it.
Yeah.
But Griffin, I think he's got great ideas for this.
I think he owns the vacant land, actually. I don't think he owns those buildings.
A bunch of those lots.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be, at one time, I think there was going to be 3 or 4 of those complexes.
Yeah, Forest River says that he's not going to build up here because he's not getting the right kind of people to rent the places.
Well,
So they go around and they take.
The sad part is, you would hope when they do these studies.
But they take the studies from the wrong people.
Yeah.
Wrong areas.
I've always said I think that if you're along the bayfront, you got a much better chance.
True. Just like the mayor going down to Harvard to the blighted cities. What was all that about? Were they invited to Harvard pick up the expenses?
What happened?
They went down for a blighted city symposium, you want to call it, for all the various areas. They're talking about some in California and all around the countryside. Now, we know we have blighted areas.
Oh, yeah. About 2.5 weeks ago, I took a walk with a couple of citizens. I did the area around 4th and Cherry, 4th and all that area, 4th and Walnut. Then I went up to East 25th, up there by Ash in that area.
Bombshells went off up there.
Oh, God, what really frustrates me is nobody notices this. They
notice it. You know what the trouble is? Our economic development money, the GDP money, is going to the wrong areas. It should not be going to all these nonprofits. It should be going into the city, fixing these homes if that's where that money is designated to go. These people don't know how to make applications to get it, and you've got a economic development person down there who doesn't do anything but take her salary.
I think a lot of them, quite seriously, are going to have to be bulldozed and, come up with a project. Because, I looked at them, they got absentee landlords. You know what we ought to start doing is, I know it's a huge problem now. Where do you start? Well, they teach you in the Army, you take the closest threat. You don't worry about the threat that's 300 meters away. You worry about the threat that's...
the first one and just work your way down.
Right. You work your way out because that's, So, start somewhere. I don't care. It's like the mall. You look at the mall, they put 5 acres and they hope everything, eats up. So start somewhere and you know what? Be a little aggressive. Make a big deal out of it. Call the press in, start going after these landlords. I don't care if they call it selective enforcement. Just start picking somebody.
Right.
And working upwards, you got to start somewhere.
What you need to do is work with the people that actually own their homes. All right, like the Lower East Side, the Bayfront Task Force, they did it. They had programs where you could borrow money or they would give you grants to fix your house, to do different upkeep and maintenance on them.
Well, you talk about that, I see the city give a grant to the Dairy Queen up on Pine Avenue, and I don't see anything being done.
Well, that's not a grant, John. That's a loan.
Well.
But I did ask the owner, because I live up by there, and he said that...
as soon as the weather breaks.
Well, yeah, he does have plans. He's probably more or less designing them, but that's a loan, and that's a very successful program where...
Still low rate,
yeah. Hey, but, we've had a good payback rate, and there's a gentleman here, Chris Groner, that runs that. And, they have a committee that looks at that, and, like in a case like him, he's probably going to maybe... he does a wonderful job up there. Yeah, I don't think every time I ask up there, they said they haven't forgotten that project. They just, timing probably,
One more quick thing, then I'll get off the air. I noticed a nice article about the traffic director yesterday in the paper. But the thing that irritated me the most, where she lives. She lives in Northeast. All these supervisors and all that, they're getting paid with city taxpayers' dollars, and they're all living out of town.
Yeah,
employees that the mayor hires or whatever, they should live in the city of Erie.
Well, the trouble is, they passed an ordinance years ago, and they allowed a 15-mile zone as the crow
Now,
flies.
that wasn't the at-will employees. The mayor can say, you have to live in the city, pay city taxes, and then you have the job.
Well, I think he can do that, but he would I'm guessing is that
They challenged it.
They would take the ordinance and say, hey, it says city employees, challenge it, and even if they lose, they win.
I thought, didn't they just did that like 10 years ago, I thought.
What, somebody challenge it?
Yeah, somebody challenged the residency law. And
I think the fire department and the...
yeah,
But it's 15 miles.
They have to live within 15 miles.
right.
Yeah, it used to be like police officers, you had to live for 1 year in the city,
Yeah.
and then you could move out.
Right.
But like at-will employees, you can demand it, but if they really want to move outside and challenge you,
Right.
no court's gonna.
Right.
Does the mayor promote his employees in town? I see you have a supervisor for the wastewater treatment plant in paper in the jobs issue now to fill a position.
I don't know if it's a supervisor, though. Is it, John?
Yeah, it's a supervisor to work the various shifts or whatever.
It was
That must
posted
make
in
the
the
men
Times.
down there feel wonderful. So, okay, I'll get off the air and listen.
Yep.
All right, thanks, John.
Well, I got some unfortunate business, but
Okay. You want to leave leave me a piece of paper, and I'll
Yeah.
write stuff down if anybody...
They'll tell you where
Just
to-
give me a piece of paper.
Okay.
Seems like it's kind of slow today. DJ's going to join us.
is DJ here?
DJ is here.
Well, I want to apologize. I have some.
You got a hot date?
No, but you'll be okay. You want to take some more?
The wife's listening, so we have
You want
to...
some more?
No, I don't think anybody's going to call.
I know you'll do a good job, Bill.
No, we'll try to handle it. We'll pick up some discussion with DJ that we started talking about the EMTA and stuff like that.
Yep. Well, fill me in, though.
Yeah, I'll call you. And once again, phone number's right there, 870-1284. DJ's going to be joining me. John brought up a couple good things, and, we were talking about the EMTA. DJ, how are you?
My name is Kaz. I'm back.
Kaz.
I just made it back from the bathroom.
Kaz's twin.
Yes.
The EMTA, I was online talking to one of our council members, Jay Brenneman. We'll pick it up in a second. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hey, I was watching the news today, John, at 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
and I almost fell out of my chair, but the union for the Erie School District, they've been held up with some negotiations or whatever. They're going to go talk about a strike vote.
Oh, great.
You know something? I mean, you just can't make that stuff up. I listened to Badams and his pleas for money, and then I mean it. I watched it on the news. I thought, holy cow, they're crazy.
Right.
And I'm a union guy.
Right.
I was flabbergasted, but we'll see. And John was talking about that trip to Harvard to talk about blight and what have you.
Uh-huh.
We're sending the mayor, Kim Green, the head of the Redevelopment Authority, Kathy Dahlkamper, Carly, and somebody else from the county government to Harvard to talk about the blight. And the other cities that are coming are like Oakland, Harrisburg, someplace in Virginia. They're all cities that have similar problems, and they're going to Harvard to talk about it. So,
Right.
I might have been able to pick. I look at the mayor. He's kind of a lame duck guy right now. So going to send him to Harvard to learn about blight, I might have tried to figure out a better person to go. And I'm not knocking him, but he is at the end of his career.
Right.
And
Nobody from council went along on that trip?
nobody from council. And you want to know what else? Nobody black is going.
Right.
And didn't we just go through Unified Erie, and one of their big gripes was they didn't take a real cross-section of our community to learn weren't about unified here. I mean, there were some blacks that went, but not in the leadership roles like the Bishop Brock's and some of those other pastors and priests, you know. And here again, you know, we're gonna do something stupid again. So
Well, I think
it's crazy. But
I think Curtis Jones and they had some diversity on the trip that they took for that other program.
yeah, Jones went. That kid that's running that upstairs program at the Y went. I can't think of his name right now. And then there was some other blue coats, I think, that went that you know, help with the schools and stuff. But that thing with Harvard and Blight is it's all white faces, and you know, somebody should go, you know, just so they're in the know, you know. I mean, it's stupid is what it is. But
Right.
what else? You know something? I wanted to bring this up to Kaz, but I'm and this will only take me a minute.
Good.
Last night, my wife and I were coming down Glenwood Park Avenue at 6:30, and we were probably 20 or 30 or a minute maybe behind some accident happening where some woman didn't make the turn, and she drove over those railroad ties that are buried in the ground and crashed into a picnic pavilion. But there were about 3 or 4 people there, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to pile on to watch, you know, people go through agony.
Right.
So I get down to 38th and Glenwood Park Avenue. There's a police car there, and I'm thinking, well, these people probably already called 911, and I was expecting that police car to take a turn and go 2 blocks up to a pretty horrific-looking accident. Well, instead, he went straight over 38th Street, and I was headed home. I got behind the police car, and I let him go around me, and I give him a little high beam. You know, because I just seen the accident, and he's headed over 38th Street.
Right.
He gets to 38th and State, and I'm going to turn up 38th and State, and here's one of his partners. He's got 2 cars pulled over. One cop has 2 cars pulled over, and he checked with that cop probably to make sure he was okay because he had 2 cars pulled over. And I'm right behind this cop, and he takes off. I flick my high beams. All I want to do is tell him about a bad accident 2 blocks away.
Right.
He pulls over. You know what he said to me?
I have no idea.
Don't ever flash your high beams behind a cop. That was the first words out of his mouth. I was flabbergasted. You know, I watch these people come down to city council and talk about how they're mistreated by police, how they kind of are ignored or abused by the police a little bit, and I kind of just shine that off as being BS.
Right.
But when that son of a gun, that inconsiderate son of a bitch, said that to me, I was pissed. You know, and all I wanted to do was tell him, you got to get to that accident. And by the way, he didn't have his lights on either.
Right.
So, you know, he as far as I knew, he didn't know about that accident. You know, and it's just crazy. I mean, for him to say that to me, you know, I mean, I wasn't trying to pull him over and stick a gun in his face or nothing. All I want to do is tell him he should go over to Glenwood Park Avenue and help. You know, and that really, it just ticked me off. And that was really inconsiderate. He should have never, that shouldn't have been the first words out of his mouth. And I'm not exaggerating. That's just how it happened. And it made me mad. So sometimes when those people are down there complaining that the police are a little rough or inconsiderate, you know, God darn it, I'm going to have to start siding with the people that are saying they might be a little inconsiderate, even though they have a hard job and they do a good job. I have to say that. I like our police department.
Yeah,
but last night I didn't like our police department. But I'll let someone else call in, guys.
No, I just want to ask you, did he change his tune after you told him about the accident?
Well, he did click his lights on and turned the corner at 41st and State and I assume he was headed over to Glenwood Park Avenue.
But he didn't.
You know, so the call might have came through. But you know, it was just you know, if I'm flashing my high beams, you know, I'm trying to avoid police.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to get their attention, I'm trying to do some community good. You know, I mean, and that, honest to God, first words out of his mouth, it wasn't, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
You know, it was, "Don't ever fly." You know, I mean, it was just crazy. It made me feel bad. It really did.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'll let someone else call in.
All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, I mean, that would make it hard for...
You know, the police, they're in a tough spot. For the most part, they're in a war out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't know what they're walking into. Nowadays, most people have guns and pullovers, and you kind of get hardened out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, on the other hand, you still need to be respectful when anybody's trying to, you know, pull you over to tell you, you know, to make not make a complaint, but inform you of something that they need help with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they should have handled it differently with him. I agree. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're hardened though too. You know, they're in a tough spot. I tell you, I have a lot of respect. You know, like I said earlier, I listen to the police scanners at night.
Yeah.
And you know, I tell you, our police, they do a good job.
Right.
I hear, you know, with their shots fired, you know, I hear how they handle things. Sometimes the communication with the new dispatchers, sometimes that, you know, that there needs to be a little work there. But for the most part, our guys are on top of it. Usually they catch them. You know, it's not like these people are getting away. Yeah. They're catching these people. There was a shooting the other night on West 7th Street, and the call was put out. You know, kids, you know, they flee the area. Yeah. You know, and they created the perimeter and caught them, and you know, everything worked out well. But and then what happens is that nobody sees anything or nobody knows anything.
Yeah, that seems to be a problem. Everybody's either afraid to tell the truth or they just don't want to be a snitch.
I mean, the whole street justice thing, I don't understand. I don't get it. I mean, if somebody shoots you, okay, and I see it,
yeah,
okay, and they know that I saw them shoot you,
yeah,
chances aren't they going to be looking to shoot me to shut me up from telling on them that they shot you?
Yeah,
did that just make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe that's why people are scared too, because they think that somebody's going to be after them to.
I mean, I would rather
shut him up.
If he knows me, I would rather tell the police he did it, than have that guy in retaliation come back and shoot at me or shoot up my house.
Yeah.
Or invade my house, or come by and plug 12 shots into my house.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the whole mentality of inner city and the police. I mean, it's just bad because they're in a war. They don't know what they're going to get. Right. I mean, a domestic call could be an argument to knives and guns being pulled. I mean, it's really unfortunate the way things have turned, you know, just society in general.
Society in general is crumbling, and it's scary because when you're a police officer and you show up to something like that, who's to say that both of the parties involved don't turn against the police officer?
Oh, that happens all the time.
And it does. I watch cops. Yeah. I know that happens. I've seen it on TV, but I know it happens in real life because people just seem to not care anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. You know, and now, you know, this year we're having, you know, with all the new, we have the primaries coming up for the presidential stuff.
Right.
And, you know, anybody feel free to call and break in our conversation if you want to talk about anything. But the Republicans, you know, Donald Trump and these guys, they have lost their minds. I mean, these guys are, you know, Donald Trump is in their head so much that, and he's winning. So now, you know, Marco Rubio is, you know, these guys, they're trying to get down to his level with the name calling, and they're making fun of each other, and it's all. I mean, that's how bad they are. That's how bad that party has become.
Yeah.
That Donald Trump is leading their party, and honestly, I think Donald Trump. Do I agree with everything? No. But, I mean, I'm a Democrat, so I'm looking at this from an opposite party view.
Right.
I think he's one of the best things to happen to the Republican Party in a long time.
Because he's destroying it from the inside?
Well, no, actually, no. Actually, he is an improvement, because what's happened in the Republican Party is they got their own party battle going.
Yeah.
You got the Tea Party nuts, and you got the regular Republicans, and they're fighting each other. They had to draw straws to see who would be the majority leader. Nobody wanted to do it, because they don't want to have to deal with those other Republicans that are represent the Tea Party.
Right.
So then you've got all these left or the right wing people who they're out of their minds. Just like they could say that us left, the Democratic. I'm a moderate. Okay, so the liberals, let's say the left wing and the right, let's say they're both out of their minds. Okay, now here comes Donald Trump. Okay, he doesn't really cater to the Tea Party. He's got some liberal stances. I think that he, the whole Planned Parenthood thing, I don't think he's totally against that. One thing, the Republican Party, they, when I was the last election, when Obama ran against the guy from I can't remember his name, the black-haired guy. But anyways, he, two of his platform, one of them was he wanted to privatize Social Security for senior citizens. Okay? Senior citizens don't want to hear anything about anybody messing with their Social Security.
Yeah.
I mean, people that vote, people that watch this show that might tune in, they actually care about politics a little.
Right.
They actually are educated about politics. But the 99% of the people that vote, they have the attention span of a gnat. And they don't understand, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And for them to say we want to private, that sounds to senior citizens like they want to change it, or they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So they're not voting for, and that brings more seniors out to vote against the Republican Party.
Right.
And you have women. Even if you're pro-choice or pro-life, women don't want you, the government or Republican Party, telling them what they can and can't do.
Right.
I mean, I can't tell my wife. I try to tell her I got to use reverse psychology on her. I got to tell her what I don't want her to do, so she'll make me do what I want her to do.
She might be watching.
No, she's got better things she's got better things to do than, she's heard all this dumb stuff.
Yeah.
She's heard this all. But you get Donald Trump that comes along, he doesn't want to hear it. He's got some not liberal, but moderate views, and maybe it'll bring their party back towards the middle a little bit, because the Tea Party people they're out of control, and they're living in these pockets where they just elect their candidates.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt. I mean, what happens is too many people on the left vote, too many people on the right vote. Those are where your voting blocks come from, and not enough moderates come out to vote anymore because we're all sick of the crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to have candidates and policies that pertain to what those voters want. And we all suffer the consequences, I think, on that. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean...
Oh, don't ask me about politics. I'm so bad.
Are you?
I have very limited understanding and knowledge of politics. I would ask you, what's the deal with the super candidates? What is this thing where they're saying Bernie can't possibly get the nomination because of super candidates? What does that mean?
I think there's a certain pocket that only vote. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah.
But I think there's they have standing or something within the party that may have more say than others.
Right, and I've heard that, but I've also heard that they've already made their decision, and they're going to put, they want Hillary as the nominee.
I thought they cleared the old Democrats want Hillary.
Yeah.
Okay, the new Democrats, they want the liberals, and the new Democrats want Bernie.
Yeah.
So I think Bernie. I think if Donald Trump wins, I think he can beat Bernie. If Hillary wins, which she will, I think the women, because whenever I've been out working polls or when I ran and things, the women will vote for another woman.
Yeah.
Okay, like Kathy Dahlkemper, and I think the women think, because we had we have a black president, so they gave him a chance. Now it's going to be a woman's chance.
Yeah.
And if the women come out to vote, they're going to vote for Hillary. And no matter who it is, Trump, any of them. Trump is the only person that has a chance to beat Hillary, in my opinion. I don't think Ricky Rubio, I don't think Ted Cruz. I mean, actually, Bob Kasich, I think his name, is the one I like the most. He's the one that seems to be the most knowledgeable. And you have Ben Carson, who's a really smart guy, but he doesn't get to say anything because nobody attacks him at the debates. The way they run debates, I don't get the platforms. But I was watching it the other day, and it's just name calling. Donald Trump telling them they're stupid, and they're choke artists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. I just generally don't know much and don't follow, but
you do vote, right?
I do vote, yes.
Okay.
I vote with my heart, but that doesn't necessarily mean I know what I'm doing.
Well, that's it. That's just you're the what I'm talking about. You're the typical voter. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Mr. I got a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think about the Pennsylvania constitutional amendments?
Which ones?
Both of them. The one is for getting rid of the Philadelphia traffic court, and the other is extending the age limit for judges. Didn't you see that?
No, I didn't see that. What was that in today? Was that?
That was last week one day. And the best part about it is those full-page ads that went over the whole state of Pennsylvania. They took the money out of the general fund. They want to extend the judges where they have to retire now at the age of 70, extend it to age 75. The judges, magistrates, etc.
Right.
And then they want to eliminate traffic court in Philadelphia.
Why would they eliminate the traffic court? Isn't that how they raise revenue?
I have no idea why they want to do that. Maybe because Philadelphia writes up so many bogus tickets, they want to eliminate it entirely. So I just thought maybe you saw that. It was in the paper last week.
I missed that.
It's a full-page ad. I think it was in either Wednesday or Thursday.
You think that would be unconstitutional to eliminate? Because if you get a ticket and you challenge it, you have to go to court to resolve it. So how could they disband the court?
They want to get rid of the Philadelphia traffic court.
I wish they'd get rid of the Erie traffic.
I don't ever see anybody in Erie traffic court. Have you?
Fortunately, I've almost had to go, but I didn't. But I know the district judges come in and take turns.
True, but the thing at Erie, you pay your ticket first and challenge it. It should be the opposite. You don't pay your ticket first, you challenge it and go from there.
Right.
Right.
So once you pay your ticket, you're accepting the guilt.
Right.
Right.
So,
And then they'll give you their money back if they think you're not guilty enough.
yeah, it's good to see that Pizarro got to replace Elliott's job. That was a sad situation there where they couldn't decipher his handwriting. I think that was a political ploy. When he ran for Elliott Lefever's seat.
Right.
Up next up Pat Harkin's office.
Yeah.
And then he got awarded, he won the election, and they didn't get him to it because he didn't pass his test properly, the written part of it.
Right.
So he typed it the next time.
Right. Well, with him, I'm trying to think of some political angles that I could figure out, but I don't know.
Trying to figure it out, and I couldn't for the life of me. There's the guy's been a police officer all these years, knows the ins and outs of it, he's studying whatever, ran for office, he's well versed on the laws and all that, and they give him something like that to throw a curveball at him.
Right.
Yep, I'll get off.
Okay, John.
Look that up, you'll probably see it. It was in the paper.
All right, I'll Google it.
Everyone else.
Okay. the bus, the MTA, we started talking about that.
Yeah.
I think that, and I was messaging County Councilman Jay Brenneman back and forth a little bit, and I totally agree with what they're doing upstairs. I have I know a lot of people on County Council, and I know that and Jay Brenneman says messages that we won't. The big misconception is that we won't cut routes, and it won't raise prices. Okay, so I said to Jay, I said, well, Jay, I'll tell you, I know Kyle and I know the people that represent the county, and as soon as they take control of that board, their constituents are going to want routes that are going throughout the county. So unless you guys are going to go out and start buying new buses, then they're going to have to cut routes, which goes against what you said. And eventually, I explained to him, I said, you're going to have 10 people trying to drive from Northeast to Waterford, and you're going to, right now the price of fuel is down.
Yeah.
So sometimes urban sprawl, it's a good thing, but you have to do it responsibly.
Yeah.
You can't curtail certain services to every aspect of Erie County. And for as soon as County Council, they pay our part of the kick-in for the city, and as soon as they take over that, let's say they were building the new building in County Council.
Yeah.
They would choose who got the business for the architecture, the construction, the et cetera,
Right.
and pretty much we would have no say-so in that whatsoever. So I'm a regionalism guy. I want us to all work together, and that needs to happen, but it needs to happen responsibly. And I was kind of surprised at Jay for saying that, because that's the only, he said for the two reasons holding it up, and they're not true. When he said them, I was like, well, how can those not be true? Because don't tell me if Fairview, and they take over, and don't tell me Fairview, if Carroll Law or DiMatteo down in the Waterford area, if their people are saying, well, we're kicking in all this money, we want services out here.
Right.
They're going to have to do it. They're going to come back, or they're going to say, well, I'm not voting for the funding if I don't have services out there.
Right.
So if they can't, that's just opening a whole quandary of political grandstanding and drama that the EMTA can't afford. They're finally getting, they got the new thing going on up there. Is it perfect? No. But you're going to start, in order to create routes in the county, you have to cut routes in the city.
Yeah.
I don't know everything. I don't know. I'm not involved in the board stuff going on.
Right.
But from sitting at home and watching and knowing some things about what's going on, that doesn't make any sense. And I was a little surprised at Jay. Maybe there is a reason that I don't know about that makes sense and financial sense to do that, and it wouldn't hurt services. I don't know, but just from a general point of view, it doesn't make sense.
So they're talking about opening up routes between Erie and all these towns, or just having service that is centralized in each of the areas?
Well, we do. We have EMTA goes out to Northeast.
Right.
Fairview, I think they go to the casino. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how far south they go. I don't know if they go to Waterford. Mm-hmm. But, what's going to happen is they're going to want buses that go from Waterford to Northeast and not even come to the city.
Right, right.
It's just going to be, which would make economical sense for them to do if that's what they did.
Yeah.
Because, why come here to go there when you just go right there?
Right.
So if you got 10 people on the bus, let's say you work at Welch's, and you live in Waterford.
Yeah.
Okay, you're telling, DiMatteo, listen, we pay the taxes. We deserve bus fare. We deserve bus.
Right.
So we don't, public transportation to get to work.
Yeah.
So you got 10 people that work in Waterford driving to Northeast.
Right.
Instead, that's more gas money. And there's more economic costs and breakdown. And then where's that route? That's got to come from a different route. That bus is not here; it's there, so there's not the service here.
Yeah.
Regionalism is a good thing. It's just got to be done responsibly.
Right.
And the way Mill Creek sold the water authority to them, boy, that was crazy the way that went down.
Yeah.
But I agree with the people on this board, and I haven't really seen too many of my friends on county council recently, and when I see that, I'm going to bring it up to them too. Like, how can you guys say that when you know that's what's going to happen? And then they'll be in charge of making all the business decision on who gets this business, who gets that business.
Yeah.
And we'll have nothing to say. And then we lose an asset. We're giving away our assets. That's like you giving your home to the home neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then they run your home and they own your home.
Yeah.
And then, when you want to get new siding, you got to go through them. It's messed up.
I heard they're moving the lift line into the same building with the big buses, right? They're moving all, they're over by the Church of Mount Zion.
Well, they got the room now.
They got the room. So if they're moving all those buses there, do we really need all those lift buses running all the time? Perhaps as a test, they could take one of the small buses and put it down there in a satellite office and have it run back and forth between Waterford and Northeast. And when it needs to come to the town, it can once in a while. But they're not going to need to run all those lift lines all at the same time always.
Well, it all depends, too, on what are the grant funding requirements. Like when we had those trolleys running around town.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the driver driving around, listening to the radio.
Yeah.
But, those were funded through a grant. People were screaming, were we off air there?
Yeah, well, no, we're busy now. We got about a minute left, so we're going to wrap.
So you get, you had that was paid through grants. And everybody was screaming about it. Oh, waste of money. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother show where you could do where money's not allocated where it's supposed to be. But overall, I think they need to take a look at giving county the control of that.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll catch hell from my county friends when I see it. I'm sure Fiore won't be happy, or Kyle, or any of them. But I'm a city guy. But when it comes down to it, so. With that being said, I think we're just about done.
Yeah, we're good. Thanks for joining us today. I was here for half of it. Kaz was the other half.
Yeah, I don't even know where Kaz went.
He ran away. He just took off.
He had a date or something, but he doesn't want to say 'cause his wife's watching the show.
Yeah.
So.
But thanks.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. I'm DJ, and this is
John Steiner, and thanks for watching Taxpayers Hotline. And hopefully Kaz will be back.
He'll be back
next week.
Yeah, he's more talkative than I am.
Is he?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9.